Okay, a day later than I was planning on, but we are here. My breakdown and review of Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 3, The Scales and the Sword. And after Episode 2 was a bit worse than I wish it was, this episode, thankfully, was like the best episode of the season so far. And just ramps everything up. Like, by the end of this episode, I'm just like, yeah, the rest of this season is just gonna be like best of the best. Like, it's gonna be amazing. But let's just get into it. So it starts off right after the last one ended, where Matt and Karen have this anti-vigilante task force member that they have captured, and they start interrogating him, just asking him stuff and everything. And he's like, "I'm here to help you. I really don't like Fisk, and what all these other guys are doing is bad, so I'm here to help you." There's a really funny moment where Matt is like, "You're lying, you are a liar, you're lying to us." And the guy's like, "No, I'm not." And then Matt like turns to Karen and he's like, "Nah, he's telling the truth." And that moment was really funny. And then the guy like starts talking to them about Red Hook. He's like, "I got this like key card in my pocket that can get you in." And I think that's pretty cool that there are going to be members of the task force that like don't like Fisk, so they're going to help the resistance. And like that whole opening scene was just really, really fun. And it's nice seeing like Daredevil in the suit. He had like some cool moments. Like he was like Batman, where he's like, "I'm gonna put the hood over you, and then I'm gonna hit you, and then we're gonna give you back to the task force, and you're gonna tell them that I beat the crap out of you." And then he just punches the guy, and it was just like awesome. There was one thing I noticed about the scene that it might just be me, and it wasn't like a big thing, but like I noticed a couple times where it looked like the Daredevil mask was a little bit like over where it should have been. Like I feel like it should have been pushed down a little bit, but it felt like it was kind of just up a little bit. Like it's not a big thing, and most people probably didn't notice it, but I was just like, it looks like it's a bit up. All you have to do is just like push it down, but it doesn't ruin the scene at all. It's still awesome. And then you get a scene with Heather where she's like got a nail on the wall and she hits it and it like cracks the wall, which that scene also was like, I don't think a crack that big would come from hitting the nail like that once, but okay. And then she opens a door and apparently she's kept the Muse mask. So that's kind of creepy, and I feel like they are heading more and more into the direction that she's going to become Lady Muse. But after looking at that for a couple seconds, she puts the nail back in the wall and actually gets it. So it's like, you got a nail. Good job. And then you get a scene with Heather and Christian, where obviously in the first season, Christian set her and Matt up so they're friends, and Christian's just like, "What are you doing? Like, you fudged this guy's reports. There's no way you're like this." And they start talking about Matt. And Heather's just like, "Yeah, he was lying about a lot of things. He was lying to you, blah, blah, blah." And it's just like, please shut up. Like, really shut up. Like, the Muse stuff, like, her turning into Lady Muse is basically the only reason that I'm, like, not, like, super pissed that she's in the show. But if it wasn't for that, and she was just like if it wasn't for the possibility of her being Lady Muse, and it was basically just her having like trauma, I would just be like, please leave the show. I really can't stand you. But after their talk, Kirsten goes to Red Hook, where she's given a couple minutes with Jack Duquesne, aka Swordsman, to try and mount a defense for his court date, which it's just like really like, you're Fisk, you suck. But then she's like masked, and I really like how that comes into play later, where like she's got a mask on, so she's basically just like being led by Cole North. And then obviously she starts talking to swordsmen, and they're basically both like talking, and she's like, "If this doesn't work, I am completely sorry." And he's basically just like, "Yeah, I already know I'm gonna lose. There's no point, but I'm thankful that you're trying." And then it like in the room that was in the first episode, this was the room where Heather was talking to Swordsman, and she had her first Muse panic attack. It shows that outside the window, which is like not an actual window, but like it's like a little glass thing. Like on the other side of the room is where all the prisoners in the cages are being held, and that comes into play later. But then you get Karen and Matt talking, and they're obviously at Frank's hideout from season 1. And Karen's just like, do you think he's alive? And Matt's like, oh yeah, he's alive. If he was dead, Fisk would have his body hanging off a bridge by now. And then she's just like, so you just think he's out there doing what he does? And Matt's like, yeah. And Karen's like, I kind of wish he was here. And Matt's like, what? And she's just like, I don't know. I just kind of wish he was here helping us. And Matt's like, you do know that killing everyone's not going to help? And Karen's like, well, yeah, I'm not saying go start killing all the Vigilante Task Force members, but if we took the head off the snake, and Matt's just like, yeah, we can't kill Fisk. I'm sorry, Matthew, but I'm with Karen on this one. Like, seriously, like, he needs to go. And putting him in prison isn't going to help. It would be a lot better if we just put a bullet in him, called it a day. Well, a couple bullets, because we already seen that one bullet doesn't work. But, I thought that was pretty nice. And then, Fisk and the governor meet up. The governor comes to his office and she starts talking to him about Red Hook. And while this is going on, there's a scene intertwined with Matt and Karen where they're talking about how to get into Red Hook. And it's pretty cool. Like, just all these different scenes that are like different dynamics. But like, I like how they're still paralleling Matt and Fisk's life. But it's not as like outright as it was in Born Again season 1, where like mostly because it was like stitched together, and that's what the original team wanted. They're still paralleling like their lives in this, but it's not as like outright as it was in season 1, and I think that's good. I think it worked in season 1, but if we kept doing it like a bunch in season 2, it wouldn't work as well. But then you get a scene with Daniel and Buck the goat, where before they start talking, Daniel gets Buck to try a hot dog. And obviously, Buck eats it and he's like, it's not bad. And then he's like, but why are you eating before the governor's dinner in like an hour? And Daniel's like, you know the rule, we don't eat at those because like, what if we're talking to someone and we accidentally spit food on them and everything? I don't want to do that. I'm pretty sure Daniel's probably like the only person who's ever done that because he seems stupid. I hate Daniel. But, and then he's like, are you a secret agent for like England or something? And then Buck kind of like is like, you won't know. And he's like, but what you need to do is find out who's doing the fake Fisk stuff. And Daniel's like, yeah, I'm on that. I don't think he is, because Daniel sucks. And then you get another little fake Fisk video where he's talking about swordsman, or BB is, because we all know who it is now. Still kind of sucks because I wish it was someone a little bit like better. But it's basically like saying, like, talking about swordsman and how it's all fake and everything, and I thought that was pretty cool. And like every single one of them, I've laughed. Like, they're just, for some reason, I find them like extremely funny. And then you get the swordsman trial. And I thought that this trial was done really well, where like Matt and Karen are, well, Karen's watching it on an iPad and Matt's listening in, and then Fisk is watching it in his office, and just like the whole thing, like watching it, and it's just like, you know what's going to happen, and just like all the back and forth and everything, to where it ends up leading to swordsman like being like, yeah, you're going to jail, buddy. And swordsman's just like, yeah, I knew that. Matt and Karen are just like, oh. Christian's like, come on. And then Fisk, like, he's laughing and he's just like, oh. And in that moment, I was just like, you are a big D-bag, dude. Like, you suck. And then Swordsman has this line that I thought was really cool, where he's like, a farce. And it's intertwined with like the governor, the judge. Sorry, the judge, like, saying, on account of this, you're guilty, on account of this, you're guilty, blah, blah, blah. But he has this line where he's like, a farce for the entertainment of the masses, presented in all its ugly glory by the man whose hand holds the scales. And I thought that line was pretty cool, where a farce is actually something that's like fake or something, or just for like people's entertainment. I had to search that up, but basically it's like something for people's entertainment, even if it's like full of crap and all that. But he's like that for the entertainment of the masses, presented in all its ugly glory by the man whose hand holds the scales, aka Fisk. And I don't know why, but I really, really like that line. And yeah, I just thought it was good. And then you get a scene with Vanessa where she's just like laying on the ground and someone comes in and is like, it's starting, and she's like, thank you, I'll be there in a minute. And I was just like, is she on drugs? Because I don't know why, but like she just seemed like way too smiley, and she was just laying there on the ground like, is she on drugs? But then you get the governor's dinner. You've got Fisk and Vanessa like talking to the governor. You've got Daniel doing his crap. And then you get Vanessa setting Heather and Buck up on a date almost. Where Heather goes and sits by Buck and was like, well, Vanessa told me that you needed company. And I think that might be true. And then Buck starts giving like this little speech where he's like, we're sitting at the best seats of the house. Like right there, we've got the king, obviously his queen, and all this. And then you've got like Daniel over here, who's this guy. And then he's like, well, I'm the knight and everything. And I thought that scene was pretty cool. Just kind of giving you a little bit of insight into Buck and everything. What I will say, though, is that Buck can do so much better. Heather sucks. Her character stinks. I don't like her. And, like, Buck could do so much better. Like, that's the first thing I thought when she sat down by him. I was like, dude, you can do so much better. But the scene itself where he's just like king, the queen, the pawns, the knight, all that. I thought it was really cool and showed a little bit of an insight into like Buck as a character. And then you get Fisk about to stand up and give a toast, and then the governor quickly gets up and gives her toast, where she's basically just like, oh, Fisk, you're wonderful, you're awesome. And Vanessa's just like, she's doing this because she's scared of you. And Fisk is like holding a knife, and it's like the way it zooms in, it's like he wanted to stab her so much right there. Yeah, it was a fine toast, but I really did like the Buck scene more. And then you get a little scene with Powell and Cole North at Red Hook, and the workers are just like, we want to go home, and Powell's like, you'll go home when I tell you to. And that sets up what happens at the end of the episode. And then you get Christian at a bar where she's just drinking, and the guy's like, and the bartender gives her a drink from the guy over there, and she's like, if you don't keep giving me drinks, I'll tell the like health department that you've got I don't remember how she worded it, but she's like, you got pizza rats or something in your bathroom smoking crack. And it was just like, okay. But and then you get Karen, she like bumps into her and leaves her a note that says your office in like an hour, and then it goes to a scene where she shows up at her office and Daredevil's there, and he starts asking her, I need you to tell me, like, what you know about Red Hook. And she's like, well, I'm kind of drunk, and while I was there, I was, like, blindfolded. And he's like, I can work with that. So she starts, like, overlaying what she heard there, and she doesn't, like, say it, but it cuts to a scene with, Matt going into Red Hook and basically like retracing her steps. And I thought that was really cool. But real quick, in that scene where he's like asking her for help, Charlie Cox like even mentioned this in the Daredevil Born Again podcast, but this was like the first time he ever tried like doing it, but he like gave a Batman voice where he made his voice a little bit more gravelly. And because it's like Matt trying to disguise himself from Christian, and he hasn't really had to do that before. And I thought it was really cool. It was obviously nice hearing Christian Bale, Charlie Cox do like a Batman voice, and I just thought it was really fun hearing him like do a superhero voice. I hope we get a couple more scenes like that, because it would be nice just to have Daredevil like talking like this, like a little bit lower and like more gravelly. I think that would be cool. But then he's breaking in the Red Hook, and he's just going through the building, and then there is a one take sequence that starts where he like hears inside a door, and there's two cops, and then he does the key card he got earlier and opens the door, and from that point on, it's a one take scene until like 3 minutes later. But he takes the two guys down in a really cool and short fight. He ends up like hearing the watch from episode 1 that he put in with the guns, so he would know how to locate them. And there's like a little clever like camera trick where it zooms into the wall, which was probably a cut, but the way they do it, it's still a one take in the scene. It's just there was probably a cut there, and I thought it was really cool. And then he hears all the heartbeats and screaming of the prisoners, so instead of going after the weapons, he goes after the prisoners, and he goes into the doors, finds all these prisoners, starts like releasing all of them. When he gets to Jack, he breaks off like a pipe and gives it to him as a sword. And then some of the task force members start coming in, and there's this one-take sequence that is one of, if not my favorite, one-take / fight sequences of the show. Like, it was amazing. I loved it. Like, it was awesome. And if this is in episode 3, I can't wait to see what's coming up, because this sequence was awesome. Swordsman is using the pipe, and he's just destroying everyone. You've got Daredevil, like, absolutely beating the crap out of people. He, like, throws a pipe into a guy's shoulder at one point, and it's just, like, he, like, in this fight, in, like, this season so far, he's just, like, absolutely unhinged. Like, he's probably a lot more violent than he's ever been, and it's awesome to watch. But, like, he's freeing everyone. You've got Jack Duquesne doing cool swords things with the pipe, and he's taking out people, and then you've got Daredevil. He's doing all these things. He's doing his Billy Clubs a bunch, which is nice to see. And then once the one-take sequence ends, it goes to a different scene. But, like, before I talk about that, like, just the one-take action scene was, like, awesome. It started around 35 minutes into the episode, and it ended around, like, 38 minutes into it. So it was, like, 3 to 4 minutes, I think. Yeah, like, 3 minutes. And it was, like, really good, and it looked amazing. And then you get a scene with Karen, and she is waiting in the car, and then she hears something, so she gets out to investigate, has her gun, and then Angela steps out and is kind of like the new White Tiger. She doesn't have, like, the greatest looking suit, but she is a kid. But she's got the amulet and everything, and she's like, please don't shoot me, I'm a kid. And then she's like, wait, you're Karen Page, aren't you? That means Daredevil's here. And she throws down a bag, and she's just like, please look inside. And Karen does, and it's guns and, like, walkie-talkies that she stole, and she's just like, I'm here to help, because, frankly, not a lot of people are. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then you get Matt and Karen, like, talking on the walkie a little bit, and he's just like, there's a bunch of prisoners here and everything. We're getting them out. And then they leave, and as they're escaping, the task force shows up in trucks and everything and starts shooting at them. They get to cover, and then Karen and Angela come in a truck as cover, and then they're getting everyone into the truck. Angela has, like, a nice little moment of meeting with her aunt, and, like, there's a shootout that starts. Daredevil's, like, beating a couple people up with his batons, not getting close. Like, he's using the batons to, like throw one out and then retract it with the cable. I thought that was cool. And then Karen ends up shooting someone and killing him. So I'm guessing that's probably going to end up being something in the next episode where Matt's just like, why do you do that? Because he does, like, give her a little bit of a look, or at least his version of a look, because since he's blind. But I thought the shootout was really cool. And then Karen killing someone, that's going to lead into something. And then Jack, Karen gives him the, like, truck. Jack drives off with all the prisoners to escape. Karen and Matt go into their car to escape that way. I think this is really good. Like, this is gonna, they're gonna be able to use this against Fisk, like, really well, because he has prisoners. And all these prisoners just escaped. And all of them are going to have the same story, like, Fisk kidnapped us and put us in there. It's not going to go well for him. But then, as they're getting out of there, the task force tries to follow, and then there's slashes on their tires in like 3 like claw marks, and then it shows Angela with a knife, and she puts it in a little thing, and it has the initials HA on it for Hector Ayala, and I thought that was like a nice little detail. And then as the episode starts closing out, you've got Powell calling Fisk, and he's just like, Daredevil's here, the guns and stuff are still here, but he got the prisoners out and all that. And Fisk is like, that sucks. Where are the night crew for the Northern Star? And Powell's like, they're still on the boat. And Fisk is like, good, we can use that. You know what to do. And Powell's like, yeah. And there was a moment where it could just be me, but it looked like he was almost sad he was doing it. But then the episode ends and the Northern Star blows up, and the episode ends with Karen and Matt, and Karen's just like, he killed all those people. And that's how it ends. It's really awesome. This episode was great. You get like a nice little interrogation at the opening. You get some cool things in between, and then you get like a really cool court scene, and then you get like a little bit of build up to Red Hook, and then like that whole breakout scene and everything was just awesome, to where it leads to Fisk blowing a bunch of people up. It was awesome. The bad thing about this week, which is episodes 2 and 3, is that Matthew Lillard wasn't in it at all, which kind of sucks because he's awesome. But I thought it was really good. It's really setting up the rest of the season great. I really hope that Bullseye becomes a bigger part. Powell, I still hope dies. I know there was like a little moment that I mentioned where I think it seemed like he was a little bit sad, but I don't care. I want him gone. Bye-bye, dude. You need to die. But like, it was awesome. This episode was great, and if the rest of the season can be on like this, if not better, this season's gonna be so good. And I just can't wait for the rest of it. But I don't have much else to say. I broke down the episode, my little thoughts on it. As a whole, like, this was definitely the best episode of the season so far. Just a great episode of Daredevil, period. One of the best episodes of Daredevil, I would say. Yeah. And, like, I still have that feeling where if the next, like, half of the season, because there's there's 5 episodes left. If the next 5 episodes can just be, like, knockout after knockout, this could potentially end up being, like, the best season of Daredevil yet, even if episode 2 is, like, not my favorite. I still love episode 2. It's definitely the weakest one so far. But, yeah, so far the action's great. The storytelling is really good. I like most of the characters. This suit is awesome, dude. I love seeing that suit so much. It's awesome. But yeah, the scales and the sword was phenomenal. So I will see you for episode 4, and then whatever is after that. But until then, you can look out for my review of Ninjago Dragon's Rising Season 4 Part 1 tomorrow. And then after that, either a short or a longer video for The Bad Guys, the series, Season 2. Which, even if it is like a long-form video, it's not going to be more than 6 minutes. At least I hope. I really hope I don't go on talking about it. I might. I don't know. So we'll figure out when it comes to it. But that being said, Daredevil's awesome. And I love it. And I will see you soon.